for joining in this Hare Krishna Japa meditation. And are you here for first time? Yes. Your name, Prabhu? Abhijit? And you live around here? Greensboro. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to ISKCON, New Goloka. Hare Krishna. Let's warmly welcome them. Hare Krishna. So our program schedule, as I announced earlier, we have a very, very special presentation right now. The presentation is by Her Grace Mother Urmila, and she's going to give the presentation on Krishna meditations. So we saw the first part of this. This was 2 weeks back, or maybe few weeks back. It was very, very amazing how we can actually see Krishna in our day-to-day life. So we are going to have the second part of this. It's a wonderful meditation. Mother Urmila has actually written a whole book on this. So if you need copies of this book, I think they're available downstairs at Mother Kamalini's table. So you can get copies of this Krishna meditation book. And for those who are here for the first time, Her Grace Mother Urmila is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. She actually joined the Hare Krishna movement in 1973. Very bold, so 51 years of dedicated service to Srila Prabhupada and to ISKCON Society. And Mother Urmila serves as the chair of the Shastric Advisory Council to the GBC. So if you're not aware, our entire ISKCON, we have a GBC, Governing Body Commissioning, which actually manages the ISKCON all around the world. And she is actually the head of the Shastric Advisory to the GBC. So if GBC actually has some questions about what does this mean, how to implement that in terms of Shastra, then she's the head of that entire committee. So very, very wonderful service to Srila Prabhupada. And here we are very fortunate. She's here locally based in New Goloka. And if you're not aware, this outside the entire greenhouse for Tulsi Devi has been actually the project of Mother Urmila. She developed the whole greenhouse and beautifully decorated that entire greenhouse to do such nice seva for Tulsi Maharani. So we are very, very fortunate to have Her Grace Mother Urmila here in our community, a very special gem of Srila Prabhupada, and she'll be giving the presentation today evening. So let's warmly greet Mother Urmila. Haribo! Also we request everyone, if you can kindly come all the way in front, please. Please come closer.
Okay, I just want to do a sound check before we start. Okay, so anyone who stays to the end, we have a special surprise. And you remember last time we were doing this from the Bhagavatam, so this time it's from the Bhagavad Gita, and hopefully we'll do a third one about Krishna's qualities. Yes, what happened to Aditya Narayan? Anyway, hopefully at some point we'll do the third one, and if you haven't gotten the book yet, it is downstairs in the hall with Mother Kamalini's section. I think we have 5 or 6 books left. All right. So. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivasesa Sanyavadi Paskatya Deshatarani. So the whole idea of any spiritual process is to change our consciousness, to change how we perceive things, how we interact with things, with the idea that then our life becomes spiritualized, and that when our life becomes spiritualized, our next destination is also spiritual. That's, you could say, the essence of any kind of religion or spiritual process, has this concept that although we're living in the world, we're living in the world differently than a materialistic person. And if you look at the Bhagavad Gita is really centered on, Arjuna says, if I want to be a spiritual person, I need to retire from my job. Yeah? I'm actually talking with one devotee right now who's saying, I think the best way I can do my spiritual life, he's only like 40, is to retire from my job and move to a holy place. So this is a very common way of thinking, that I need to externally withdraw from the world, especially when the world presents us with some difficulty, which is what's going on in the Bhagavad Gita. It's a pretty severe difficulty. It's actually a war. Hopefully none of us here have been in a war. But it's a war, and it's not only a war, it's a civil war. And Arjuna is pitted. He has relatives on his side and relatives he's fighting against. And he says, this is too painful, it's too difficult, it's going to result in sin. I'm not even going to enjoy the kingdom if I win. It's not compassionate, and so forth and so on. So better I just walk away. Better I forget the whole thing. And we could say that the essence of what's going on in the Bhagavad Gita is Krishna telling Arjuna, no, you stay in your position. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, Stanistita, you stay in your position, but you work in a different consciousness. You work in a different frame. And it takes Arjuna quite a while to understand this. So Arjuna keeps pushing for this idea that I have to withdraw. And Krishna uses words like buddhi yoga, which translate to Arjuna that I should just kind of sit around and cultivate philosophy. And he even says, how are you? Why do you want me to fight if you want me to do buddhi yoga? How did these things go together? And finally, if somebody really pushes for something, you might say, all right, we can do that. You understand? Yes, Srila Prabhupada tells the story that when one of his children was very young, he wanted to touch a fan. And in those days in India, the fans didn't have a grate over them. It was just open blades. And so Prabhupada said he asked some of his friends what to do, and his friend said, slow the speed and let him touch it. So that's what he did, and the child touched, and then Prabhupada said, touch again? And he said, no. So sometimes when someone's very insistent, we may say, all right, well, here it is. So that's what happened. Arjuna kept insisting. And so therefore, Krishna in chapter 6 starts describing a kind of yoga where you do withdraw from the world. He says, all right, go to a holy place. Don't have anything to do with your wife Draupadi or Subhadra. Don't eat nice food anymore. Arjuna was a prince, so don't eat royal food. Don't wear royal clothes anymore. Just sit in the forest, stare at the tip of your nose, and chant Om. And Arjuna says, Chanchalahi Mana Krishna, I don't think, my mind is jumping too much. Do you all have this thing? Does your mind jump? Yes. So Arjuna says, my mind jumps too much. It's not going to work. And then he says, what happens if someone tries this and fails? Right? So by presenting this scenario to Arjuna, Arjuna himself comes to reject it. By the way, that's a very good tactic if you're dealing with someone. And at the end of that chapter, Krishna says, anyone know the verse at the end? You can say it with me if you know. Good. Yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmana shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. The best yogi is one who's always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So the next thing would be, well, how do you do that? How do you absorb yourself in thoughts of Krishna? And so we might think that Krishna is going to say, right after he says this, all right, just think of me in Vrindavan playing the flute. Right? But he doesn't. It's fascinating that what Krishna says right after this, as you can see, we're going to look at chapters 7, 9, 10, and 15. What Krishna says right after this in chapter 7 is how to find Krishna in the things of this world. Now, why would he do that? Obviously, we also want to think of Krishna in his abode. After all, he already said in chapter 4, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, think of my various activities. However, it's extremely difficult to always think about how Krishna's playing his flute to call the cows, and how Mother Yasoda is feeding him, and how he's dancing with the goat. That's very difficult. We're thinking, oh no, I need to pay this bill. Why did they bill me for this? They shouldn't have billed me for this. That's a mistake. I have to call the company. Oh, and the car needs to be repaired. And my kid has to go to school. They have a test today. Did they finish? Those things are also going to be there. if we're working in the world, which is why Arjuna had this idea of separating himself from the world. Now, let's say we could take all of these things that we're thinking about and see how they're related to Krishna. See how Krishna is present in them. Then if we're also aware of Krishna's pastimes beyond this world, what will happen is the things in this world, when we see how they're related to Krishna, will bring us to Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world. Okay, you ready for this journey? We did this before. How many of you were here for the Bhagavatam section that we did a few weeks ago? Okay, so you ready for the Bhagavad Gita one? Yes? All right, so the same thing is I want you, if you can take notes. That's a good idea. And as we're going through, I'd like you to pick 1, 2, maximum 3 specific things here that you're going to meditate on at least today and tomorrow and maybe over the next week. And as I said, for those of you who stay to the end, we have a special surprise at the end. All right? So we're going to start with chapter 7. So here Krishna says, I am Om. And this he says 3 times. So we know that this whole creation comes from sound. And that sound is Om. And I'm sure you know the scientists tell us that even solid matter is not completely solid. The atoms are moving, the molecules are moving. Movement means vibration. And actually everything is vibrating this Om. But Krishna says he's not only Om, but he's all sounds. Well, this is one I like to meditate on because I find it very challenging. You've got the air conditioner, few rustling. Can't hear the cars right now. But how is that Krishna? There's one class where Srila Prabhupada says that if you don't want to chant Hare Krishna, you can meditate on how all sounds are Krishna. Does anyone remember from the Bhagavatam one where these sounds come from? Yeah? Where do they come from? What part of Krishna's body? Anybody remember? His ears. Excellent. And so I like to, I'll hear a car honking and a baby crying and a dog barking and someone's phone beeping, and that's all coming from Krishna's ears. I am the seed. This is another one that Krishna says 3 times. So bhakti is often compared to a seed. Right? That the guru, he plants the seed of bhakti in the heart. It gets watered with hearing and chanting and produces fruits and flowers at the lotus feet of the Lord. And righteous romance, when we see people who are happily, lovingly married, producing children with love and affection and care, that is Krishna. And the strength of the strong, devoid of passion and desire. When we use our strength to protect others, or we see others using their strength to protect and care for others, that is Krishna. And the heat and fire. Can we all become aware of the heat in this room? Mm-hmm. One time I remember reading that this one scientist said that the universe is a cold, impersonal machine. But actually our lives are full of heat. And heat is indicative of life. And it's indicative of love. We talk about a warm embrace, right? The opposite of like a cold glance. And whenever we can become aware that we're surrounded by heat, heat's coming from our body in the surrounding, that is Krishna's loving, living embrace. The fragrance of the earth. Does anyone remember what part of Krishna's body this comes from? Anyone remember from the other class? Yeah? His nose, yes. So all of the fragrances, we have, now that the gardens are blooming, here's one fragrance, in the chrysanthemum, I'm in a little clove here in the carnation, and then rose. And how is it that all these flowers are growing in the same dirt, with the same water and the same sun, but such a variety of fragrance? Prabhupada one time said that even if you don't read the scripture, and you don't have a guru, you can find God in the fragrance of a flower. The penances of the ascetics. So what is penance? Penance means we've done something wrong and we do something to fix it. We put things back into balance. And the ascetics are people who've dedicated their lives to putting things back into balance. Some of you are familiar with the Chaturshloki, the 4 main verses of the Bhagavatam that the Lord speaks to Brahma, upon which the whole Bhagavatam is built. Right before these 4 verses, Krishna says something astonishing. He says, Tapo me hridayam sakshat. Penance is directly sakshat, my hriday, my heart. And atmaham tapaso, atma aham, myself is penance. The most basic kind of penance is an apology. So a genuine apology, is that easy or hard? Very hard, right? This was several months ago. One devotee I know wrote on social media, my authorities told me to write a genuine apology. So if any of you are so sensitive that you were offended by what I said, I'm very sorry for that. Whenever we genuinely do penance for our wrongs, that is Krishna, the life of all that lives. I'd like us to become aware that we are alive, to feel our aliveness, to feel I am alive. And then to become aware that everyone else in this world also is feeling this sense of being alive. And throughout the world, the insects, the trees, the animals, they all have this sense of being alive. The world is full of aliveness, and this sense of being alive is Krishna. So all of us have some intelligence, and you know what it's like when we do something intelligent, right? We go, whoa, that was smart, right? That sense of doing something smart, that's Krishna. Prowess or tejaha. So this is skilled strength. Skilled strength. Whenever we see somebody using strength that has some skill, that is Krishna. The light of the sun. This is something else Krishna says 3 times. So light, right? We have, although the sun's so far away and we only have some little windows here, still, even if we turned off all the lights here, still the room would be full of sunlight. It brings us certainty, it brings us relief, it removes our fears. And we tend to just take it for granted that our room, our outside is full of light, but that is Krishna. And the light of the moon, and cooling and soothing after the long day. And ability, this is a wonderful one to meditate on, such an easy thing to meditate on. We are always using some ability. We all have the ability to sit, we're able to hear, to see. If you try wiggling your fingers and toes and think, how am I doing that? And anything we're doing, that is Krishna. And whenever we see anyone having any ability, that is Krishna. This is one, of course, Srila Prabhupada talked about a lot, named the taste of water. Yes. Actually, this is any liquid substance. Rasoham apsukamtaya, that rasa, that taste. And Prabhupada would say, what is the difficulty to think of Krishna? One time, actually, in Taiwan or Hong Kong, one of those places, Tokyo. It was Tokyo. This one boy was asking Prabhupada, how do I see God? And Prabhupada said, you see him as he is telling you to see him. See him in the light of the sun and see him in the taste of water. All right, so we did chapter 7. Now we're going to go to chapter 9. So I am the ritual. Right? So everybody has some rituals in their life. Do you all have some rituals in your life? I was hearing someone the other day, they said, okay, I put on both my socks, then both my shoes, but my wife puts on her left sock, then her left shoe, and her right sock, and then her right shoe. Right? You go to one person's house, they put the cups over here and the dishes over here, and someone else's house, they put the cups over here and the dishes over there. So we have so many rituals we do in Krishna consciousness, but these are all coming from Krishna's desire. Just like where a person puts things, how they put things is indicative of their desire. And Krishna and his desire are the same. And the sacrifice. So sacrifice means a ceremony of connection. So we all do ceremonies of connection. So usually when I teach this, I talk about what ceremony I have to do if I'm going to call my daughter. But since I'm right here, I just say hello to her. I don't have to call her. But if I'm in another part of the world and I want to call her, then I have to do a ceremony, right? I have to have a phone, and the phone has to be on a network, and it has to be charged, and I have to put in the right number, and I have to think about the time zone, right? I don't want to call her at 1 a.m, or I might not make a connection. So in the same way, many kind of yagyas are like that. You have to do them at the right time, in the right place, with the right mantras. And if you say the mantra slightly wrong, then instead of getting someone who's going to kill Indra, you get someone who Indra kills. All right? Now, these different yagyas are also indicators of the way Krishna wants to be connected with. Like I have some people, they only want emails, some people only want WhatsApp, some people only want messengers, some people I've got to call them on the phone. So Krishna has his ways that he wants us to connect with him. And he's the offering to the ancestors. Krishna wants us to respect our elders, and he wants us to keep up the pious cultures of our family. And the healing herb, anybody remembers what part of Krishna's body are the healing herbs and drugs? Hairs. Yes, and the potency comes from his what? Anybody remember? Yes? In the back? Yes? His breath, yes. So Krishna's breath is giving the potency to the herbs, which are his hairs. And how amazing it is when we're sick and we take some herb, or you take pharmaceuticals derived from herbs, and then you just feel better. That's wow. Right? Because that potency is Krishna. And of course, if Krishna is all sounds, how much is he the sound of his holy name? So not only is he the ritual and the yajna, he is also all of the ingredients. And he's the Father. So that's actually, I don't remember if that's Abhimanyu or Nrsinga's shoes and Sri Arjuna's shoes in that picture. So every religion understands that God is the Father. Yes. So all of us have fathers. Hopefully we have good relationships with our fathers. Many of you here are fathers. Every day we're seeing so many fathers. And if we take the ideal father, right, who loves his children, who provides for their education, for their protection, for their maintenance, for their recreation, and we multiply that billions and billions of times, we'll have some idea what is Krishna. And not only is he the father, he's the mother. So we grow inside the body of our mother, we're nourished from the body of our mother. Similarly, we all are coming from the body of Krishna and are nourished by Krishna. And just like a mother will love her child even if the child becomes a criminal, isn't it? Right? The child's a serial killer and the mother still cares about him. So even if we are evil, even if we are wayward, even when we make mistakes, Krishna never stops loving all of us. And the support. So what supports us? Our house, right? Our job. How do you support yourself? You talk about your job. Emotionally, our family, our community. Can all of those crumble? Yeah, but Krishna never crumbles. And the grandfather. So when we do a yajna, and they ask us what family we're in, we say, Achyuta Gotra, right? We're in Krishna's family. And Prabhupada says that the grandfather is often more affectionate than the father. The object of knowledge. I once read this scientist said, if you study nature a little bit, you could be an atheist, but if you study it deeply, you have to become atheist. The more that we study everything around us, the more we can understand the presence of Krishna. And the purifier, we do so many things to be purified. We take a bath, we wash our clothes, we clean our house, we try to eat healthy, we exercise, maybe we take medical treatments or psychological treatments. But the active principle in all these purifying agents is Krishna. And again, he says he is Om. So Om seems so simple. One syllable, Om. How is that God? And similarly, Krishna seems very simple. Lord Brahma made this mistake. He thought, he's a little boy, and only a little boy. He has food in his left hand. You know, Vedic culture, you eat with your right hand. So he's got food in his left hand, walking around. Where's my friends? Yeah. So similarly, we may say Om, very, very simple. How can it be God? But actually, everything is contained there. And I am the goal. Srila Prabhupada says that if our mind is not satisfied, that's for want of a goal. When we are making goals, working toward them, achieving them, there is Krishna and the sustainer. So what sustains us? Air, temperature, water, food, those we love. But actually, it's Krishna sustaining us through all of those. If we are physically, emotionally, creatively, socially sustained, it is actually Krishna sustaining us. And I am the master, so this is not a popular concept in 2024, masters. So how many of you have ever had a really good boss? How many of you have had a really good boss ever in your life? It's always a small number. And so whenever I've worked under a really good boss, you just feel so relaxed, right? There's one story this one Christian author tells that he and his wife and his 2 kids were going out, and they put the kids in their car seat, and they get in the car, and they stop at a grocery store, and the wife gets out, buys some things, comes back in, stop at a gas station, he gets out, pumps the gas, gets back in. They stop at a friend's house, his wife drops off some of the groceries at their friend's house. Then they're going too fast on the highway, and the police pulls them over, comes to the window, gives them a ticket, and they're driving, and then his 3-year-old daughter says, "Daddy, where are we going?" And he was thinking, we've been in this car for 45 minutes. And from a 3-year-old's perspective, you know, we stop someplace, mommy gets out, we're waiting, she gets back in, we stopped another place, daddy gets out, he's doing something funny with the car, and he gets in, and we stop at another place, and mommy gets out, and then we stop another place, this strange man with lights is coming to the car. So she doesn't know what's going on. But so she's just happy in the car. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know where they're going. But what does she know? Who is driving? Who is driving? I am the witness. So people don't like this one either. God always knows what you're doing. But it's not like that. So you can try an experiment. You can go to someone who loves you, genuinely loves you, and say, I'd like to talk to you for 2 hours about everything I did today. I think after 5 minutes, their mind would wander, right? But Krishna's actually interested. He's interested in everything we think, everything we feel, everything we desire. And sometimes we get to see that, isn't it? Right? So I should tell you this story. So Aditya Narayan was saying about the greenhouse, but I also, with your help, take care of Vrinda Devi's garden. And I was just thinking last week, I thought, I'd like to get another bird sculpture for Vrinda's garden. And then maybe some more solar lights. Maybe I should get some more solar lights. Maybe I should buy some. I don't know. Should I get some of the same kind? And I was looking at some stuff online, and then 2 days ago, Haribo Urmila, and it's Guru Bhakta, and she said, I brought you a peacock sculpture for the garden and another 4 solar lights. And then you know that Krishna's listening, right? Right? Does this kind of thing happen to you? Yes. So he's the witness. And not only in this life, but forever. I am the abode. So how do we feel when we get home? Right? I can relax. I can be myself. But Krishna is everywhere, and we can always relax and be our authentic selves in him. And this is something to think about every time you open the door to your house. and the refuge. So Prabhupada says in Bhagavatam 3:21-17 purport that Krishna is like an umbrella. He's an umbrella against the sun and the rain of the material energy. So whenever we find some refuge, whenever we get in the shade, whenever we find some cover for the rain, we can remember that Krishna is our refuge and the most dear friend. So hopefully all of us have at least one good friend. Yeah. And what does it mean to have a friend? Someone we feel some sense of equality with, that we have their back, they have our back, we do fun things together, we understand each other. And if we could take that out to infinity, to understand how much Krishna is our friend. So the creation and the annihilation. So we are generally very fascinated with both creation and annihilation. Like, you know how children build things out of blocks and then what do? They knock them over. Yeah. There's one woman who makes her living by knocking over blocks. She makes videos of building block towers like with dominoes and then knocking one and they all go over in beautiful designs, and that's how she maintains herself. Because we're all fascinated by creation and annihilation. And basis of everything. Sectarianism means when we tell the story of our life or the story of the world without reference to the Supreme. But actually, under our joys, our triumphs, our tragedies, our sorrows, our creativity, all of our life's adventure, Krishna is always the basis. I really like this one, and I really like getting these pictures. The resting place. This can be physical, when we sit down on a bench, we sit on a chair, we take a break. Our mental resting places where we go for inner space and privacy. Wherever we rest, we can always think, Krishna is really my resting place. This is something I think about every night when I lie down in my bed. Krishna is the resting place. And again, he says that he's the seed. So in most of the world, the primary food that people eat is seeds. Wheat, rice, right? Barley, millet, quinoa. Seed, also all the beans, legumes, even a lot of the spices, they're all seeds. This is the place where all the nutrition is packed into the plant. And Krishna is this concentrated force of energy as the seed. And he gives heat. So you know when you're cooking, the heat is making the molecules dance. Yeah? That's why if you hang your clothes outside in the sun, it will dry because the heat from the sun makes the molecules of water on your clothes dance away from your clothes, actually. And the food, when we're cooking, not only are the molecules dancing, but the flavor is changing and the juices are coming out. So when we see Krishna, we start to dance and our flavor changes and our heart starts to melt. I withhold and send forth the rain. I can't remember how old I was, maybe 10. And we were driving on the road, and on our side of the road it was raining, and on the other side it wasn't raining. Right down the line. I can still see that. It made such an impression on me as a child. Have you ever seen a cloud in the distance? It's raining in one place, right? You can see where the rain is coming down. So when our oldest son was about 1 year old, we lived in an ashram in Boston, and there was a sink in the corridor. And so our son would take containers, and he'd go to the sink, and he'd hold up the container, anyone who went by, and he'd say, water, water, water. And so people would give him water. And then what would he do with the water? And then what would he do? And the devotees would come to me and say, your son is making a mess. Why do you give him water? I said, I'm not giving him water. You're giving him water. I said, but he comes up to us, water, water. So sometimes Krishna turns on the tap and sometimes he turns it off. Immortality and death. Actually, I was just hearing Prabhupada talk about this morning, how that everybody meets Krishna in the form of death. And we're very afraid of death because death takes away our identity in this world. So when I first joined the movement, we used to have this drama called the wrong bank account. So you may know that you can't take money out of someone else's account, but you can put money into someone else's account if you have the routing number and the bank account number. So we had this drama that this man, after he would get out of work each week and get his paycheck, he would put money into the account, but somehow he got one number wrong, and he was putting it into someone else's account. And when he went to withdraw his money, there was nothing there. So generally in this life, we're putting our energy, our thought, our care into this body, into this mind, into this world. And death means all that is gone. So therefore, we're very afraid of death. But death is actually Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy of a cat. And we have a cat on this property. And this cat catches mice. I know because sometimes the cat leaves the mice outside my door as a present. Aw, yeah. So, right, if the cat's carrying a kitten, the kitten is feeling safe. The kitten is thinking, oh, my mommy is carrying me. But when the mouse or the rat is in the kitten's mouth, it's feeling distressed. So the devotee sees death as, here is my Lord coming to get me. Because not only is Krishna death, but Krishna is also immortality. Right? Najayate miyate vakadachin nayan bhutva bhavitavana bhuya ajo nachasasvato yamparano nahanyate hanyamane shrire. Beyond this body, this identity, we are immortal, and there is Krishna. Okay, we've looked at chapters 7 and 9. Now we're going to look at chapter 10. Beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings, our childhood, our youthfulness, our middle age, our old age. Again, the sun. Actually, everything here is a transformation of sunlight. The plants are taking the sun and turning it into sunlight and turning it into food, and we're eating it, and our bodies are really transformations of sunlight. And this wood and the trees and everything is simply transformed sunlight. A little less Krishna is the light of the sun right now. Okay, sure. And among the stars, I am the moon. So we see the moon surrounded by stars, and we can remember Krishna eating surrounded by his cowherd boys, or dancing surrounded by the gopis. Of the senses, I am the mind. So many times we yogis think of the mind as just troublesome. But actually it's the control center of the senses, and in that way represents Krishna. Srila Prabhupada writes that there's nothing we can think, feel, and desire that is outside the range of Krishna's energy. And when we use that thinking, feeling, and desire for Krishna, we realize that the mind can be our friend. And he is the living force, consciousness, our awareness. If we can stop and become aware that we are aware. We are aware of where our feet are. We are aware of where our ears are. Even if we close our eyes, we have a sense of how much space is in front of us, behind us, and to the sides. And everyone in this room is similarly aware. Actually, all living entities are aware. This world is full of awareness or consciousness, and that is Krishna. Of all the Rudras, he is Shiva. Yeah, so Lord Shiva is in charge of destruction, and he's in charge of the troublemakers in the universe. So I have one godbrother, he's now retired, but he used to be a physician in the maximum security prison for the criminally insane. Imagine having that as your job. So that's what Lord Shiva does in the universe. And of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Anybody remember what part of Krishna's body is the ocean? His waist, yeah. Right? And when you see the ocean moving, you can meditate how Krishna is dancing. Right? So the ocean, we were at the ocean just a little while ago. I mean, it's just about 3-hour drive from here, right, to get to the ocean. And the ocean is so deep and so vast, and it looks very homogeneous, but actually it's full of varieties of life. Similarly, Krishna is deep and vast, and he may seem very simple, but he's full of variety of pastimes and devotees. And again, he says he is Om. So Srila Jiva Goswami explains, and Srila Prabhupada reiterates this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Om is made of A, U, Om. is Krishna. We'll see a little later. Krishna says, I am U is Srimati Radharani, and the or the Anushvar is all of the living entities. And then he is of all the yagyas, so he is all yagyas, and he is especially japa. Why is that? So we were talking about the other yagyas. You have to do them a certain way, a certain time, and if you just get one thing a little bit off, you say an instead of an then the whole meaning is changed. But chanting the holy name you can do in the morning, in the evening, in your car, in the shower, when you're clean, when you're dirty, when you're mad, when you're glad. Whatever's going on, you can do it silently in your mind, quietly, loudly, in a kirtan. You can connect with Krishna always. And the Himalayas, so we don't have any Himalayas here. We just have some hills in Hillsborough. Anybody remember what part of the Lord's body are the mountains? There's bones, yes. So the Himalayas don't move like Krishna is immovable in his love for us. And banyan trees, of course, we don't have any of those around here either. How many of you have seen a real banyan tree? Pretty much everybody. All right, so it's very hard to tell where it begins, where it ends, spreads everywhere. And the king, so we're still fascinated in 2024, not sure why, with kings. So many people watched the coronation, I didn't, of King Charles. So how much more interesting would be Krishna, the King of Kings? And lightning that pulls nitrogen out of the atmosphere and brings it into the ground as a weapon. So sometimes we're full of sadness or doubts or difficulties or confusion, and then we get this lightning bolt of understanding that acts like a weapon that dissipates our difficulty. And the Surabhi cow, Krishna is called Eko Bhajanam Yo Vidadati Kaman. He was been fulfilling the desires of everyone since time immemorial. The Surabhis can give unlimited milk and, in fact, whatever one desires. So there are many reasons why people have children, but of all of those reasons, Krishna says that he is the love between the husband and wife. And he is Yamaraj. Anybody remember what part of the Lord's body is Yamaraj? Backside is immorality. Good, that's very good. But Yamaraj, anybody remember? His teeth. Good. Crunching. Whenever we hear about sinful criminal people getting punished, right, then we know that there's harmony in the universe. Krishna crunching in his teeth. Right, sometimes it seems that bad people are enjoying, good people are suffering. But we know that beyond everything, there is justice, there is Yamaraj. And time. So we try to use time, beat time, save time, look forward in time. Sometimes we waste time. Time wears away everything. But if we're offering everything to Krishna in the now, Krishna, this is for you. Krishna, this is for you. Then time cannot actually take away anything. And the lion, when the lion roars, all the animals runs away. Like when Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita, the atheist and the demoniac run away. And the wind, you hang your clothes outside, right? And they smell so fresh. You open up a musty room and the wind airs it out. And the wind bringing changes in our life. Anybody know what part of the body, Krishna's body, the wind's coming from? Anyone remember? His breath, yes, coming from his nostrils. Parasuram, who roots out corruption in government. Whenever we see anybody rooting out corruption in government, we can remember Parasuram. Now Krishna says he's the Makara. And there's not really an English word for Makara. So Prabhupada will usually translate it as shark, sometimes as dolphin, sometimes as crocodile, the great beast of the sea. And the Ganges River, Mother Ganga, that spiritual water that comes from beyond the universe by the piercing of the covering of the universe with the toenail of Vamandev, Paranaka Janita Janapavana. And the beginning, the middle, and the end, the top of the sandwich, the middle of the sandwich, the bottom of the sandwich, the beginning of your journey, your destination, you're coming back home. The start of a project, the doing the project, the winding it up, the planning for a festival, the having a festival, the cleaning it up. The science of knowing the self. So who is the self? We're part and parcel of Krishna. Mamaivam jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. We have the qualities of Krishna, maybe to a minute degree, but we're very minute. So we're beautiful. We're ever youthful. We're geniuses. We're effulgent. And therefore, Krishna says in 6:20 that once you know the self, you think there's nothing greater than that. You won't be disturbed by anything and always established in the truth. And he is vada. So vada means when we have discussions because we want truth. Yes? We park our ego with our shoes. And it's about finding truth. Then there's jalpa. Jalpa, I'm not interested in truth. I want to win. Like I was having this discussion on and on with this one devotee, and after a while I said, what do you want? She says, I want you to say that I am right. That's jalpa. And vitanda, we're not looking for truth or being right. We just want to make the other person wrong. So there's vada, jalpa, and vitanda. And here Krishna says he is So this sound you can say It's the most basic sound. You're not using your tongue, your lips, your teeth. That's the foundation of all language. So good times come, good times go, but always there is Krishna at all times. All devouring death. So not just the final death, but the death of relationships, the death of a home, the death of a project, the death of an idea. When Vamandev went to Bali Maharaj and asked him for charity, and Sukracharya was telling him not to give it, Bali said, better to give now whatever the Lord is going to take anyway at the time of death. And my mother used to say that. The last year of her life, my mother gave away almost all of her possessions. She said, better to give with a warm hand than a cold hand. So if we do that, if I give my relationship to Krishna, if I give my home to Krishna, if I give my career to Krishna, if I give my project to Krishna, then when it's over, I already gave it to him. And there's no sting. This I really like. This is the start before the start. So sometimes something happens and this actually started 2 months ago when I read that book, or it started 3 years ago when I met that person. But I didn't know at the time that was the start. So the start before the start. The fame of women, very famous women like Gandhari, Sita, Draupadi. Shri, which means fortune, but also beauty. So, of course, Krishna is the most beautiful woman in the form of Mohini. Yes. But the beauty of women is also Krishna. One time Prabhupada was talking with a group of people. One guest was there, one young girl, young woman. And Prabhupada said, yes, you are very beautiful. Use that beauty in Krishna's service. And fine speech. So actually in Bhagavatam 9.5.7, the Sudarshan Chakra is called the master of speech. That which illuminates, that which destroys ignorance. And when women are speaking like that, that is Krishna. And memory, Prabhupada describes this as the ability to read many books and really understand them. Right? So when a woman is remembering, okay, this child wants this and that child, and I have this thing to do today, and I have to do that. That is Krishna. And Meda. So what is the famous verse about Lord Chaitanya that has the word Meda? To Meda Saha, good Meda. So if you have good Meda, you will join in Sankirtan. And Prabhupada writes in Teachings of Queen Kunti for verse 3 that generally in religious functions the women outnumber the men. I think here we have about 50-50 today. And that is, he says, because women have a natural intelligence to accept the supremacy of the Lord. So that intelligence of women is Krishna. Steadfastness. The faithfulness of women, the chastity of women, like Draupadi, that is Krishna. And patience. So how many of you are mothers? How many mothers do we have here? So do you have to be patient with your children? I say you have 3 choices. You have to be patient, you go crazy, or you let someone else watch them. Okay, now the men, you don't listen to this. Do you have to be patient with your husbands too? Yes. So that's Sukanya with Chaivana Muni. So this patience of women is Krishna. And of poetry, the Gayatri, those of us who chant the Gayatri every day, that is Krishna in the form of a poem. And he is November, December. This is the harvest season. So what's our Gaudiya Vaishnava harvest festival? Govardhan Puja. And flower-bearing spring, which is what we're in right now, of course. Right? This explosion of color and fragrance It's the youthfulness of the seasons. Actually, Krishna's name Madhava means the husband of the goddess of fortune, but Madhava also means spring. Right? Those of us who put on tilak, we say Om Madhavaya Namaha. And I like to meditate on how Krishna is personified spring. And the gambling of cheats, so this is an interesting one. So mostly in cheating, you don't know you're cheated until later, correct? Right? They call it a con man, someone who wins your confidence, you think they're okay, and then your bank account's empty, you're like, what happened? But in gambling, it's open. Okay, let's sit at the table, and I'm going to try to cheat you, and you're going to try to cheat me. It's a very strange kind of cheating. Of the splendid, I am the splendor. This is the wow factor in anything. Srila Rupa Goswami explains when describing the 7 secondary rasas in the northern ocean of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that this Adbhuta ras has to exist anytime we're experiencing any kind of pleasure from anything. There has to be some extent of this wow, this wonder, and this wow factor in anything is Krishna. And I am victory, that sense of woohoo, we won, that's Krishna. And adventure. Actually, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that if we see this world as also part of Krishna's Leela, our whole life is an adventure. And the strength of the strong. So he's not only the strength of the strong when used properly, he's all strength. Right? And we remember in the Bhagavatam we were reading how the demoniac soldiers, they represent this prowess of the Lord. And we're coming up to Nrsingadev's appearance day. And what did Hiranyakashipu ask Prahlad Maharaj before Nrsingadev appeared? Where do you get your superhuman power from? And what did Prahlad say? Same place you get it from. And punishment, right? When the murderers and the thieves are punished, that allows us to walk safely down the street, and that is Krishna. This is a really interesting one. So, we don't always win life's battles, right? Sometimes we lose. But sometimes when we've lost a battle in life, but we kept our principles, we kept our ideals, didn't that feel like a kind of victory? Yeah? That's Krishna. And silence. And Prabhupada says in this purport, this is to 1038, among the confidential activities of hearing, thinking, and meditating, silence is most important because by silence one can make progress very quickly. You're going to miss my surprise? I'm almost there. I got something really special. I'm on slide 122 of 136, and then I've got something really special at the end. So not only that intelligence, but that wisdom, that realization, that deep understanding. And again, he says he's the seed. Now, this is the seed of everything. The seeds of our relationships, our projects, our ideas. And this is a wonderful one to meditate on. There's so many beautiful things in this world, so many amazing things in this world. But this is just one planet among countless, among more than one universe. And if we put that all together, it would only be a spark of how wonderful Krishna is. So we looked at 7, 9, 10, and there's a few in 15. The splendor of the sun, the beauty of the sunrise, beauty of the sunset, the glory of noon, the splendor of the moon looking like a pearl in the sky, reflecting like diamonds on the water. The splendor of fire. We like to watch fire dancing. Yes. The pilot of the planet. When we're in a vehicle, we can feel it moving. Do you feel the world moving? How amazing is Krishna? The flavors to all the vegetables. The fire of digestion. Right? Like this morning I had some idlis, and now they've become my nose. How does he do that, You eat a chapati and it becomes your fingernails. And then he's joining with the prana, moving the food from our mouth to our esophagus, to our stomach, to our small intestines, throughout our body. And here is Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya chaham ridi sannivisto matas matir jnanam apohanam cha. So this is one of my family's favorite verses. So whenever anybody would lose something, we'd say, just chant 15:15. Mata, I can't find my other sock. Well, just chant 15:15. Sarvasya chaham ridi sannivisto matas matir jnanam apohanam cha. I found it. So I was traveling once and one of my friends said to me, Urmila, I can't find my phone. And I said, well, just chant 15:15. So she said, 15:15, 15:15. Okay, can we have the lights off, please? Can we turn off all the lights? I hope you like that. So I wanted to ask some volunteers about which one of these specifically you are to be meditate on in the next days or weeks. The sunshine. Okay, how Krishna is the light of the sun. Somebody else? The taste of water. Yes? The effort to make connection. He's the yagya, the sacrifice. Excellent. Somebody else? Yes. Beginning, middle, and end. Yes. Consciousness. Yes. Resting place. Yes. Oh, he's the splendor of the splendid. Yes. Remembrance. 15. The mind. All the strength. Intelligence. Yes. Generating seed of all existence. Yes. Syllable Om. Our ability. Strength. Time. Ooh. Remember that whenever you look at your watch, you look at your phone. The genuine apology, penance, yes. Work? Our ability. Our ability to do things, yes. Krishna is the ability in men, yes. The dear friend, yes. Death. Abode. The goal, very nice, yes. Forgetfulness. Actually, I have a good friend who says that even when we're forgetting Krishna, that's Krishna who's allowing us to forget Krishna. Okay, so those of you who want to go more deeply into this, we do have some, I think 5 or 6 copies of the Krishna Meditations book at Mother Kamalini's desk. I'm happy to sign any of them for you. They're also available on Amazon and paperback, hardcover, and ebook. So thank you very much. Anything good in this presentation is due to Srila Prabhupada. Anything bad here is due to me. I hope that you can take the good and leave aside the bad. Thank you. Hare Krishna. And we might do one more, right? We might do one more on Krishna's qualities. And how we can see, how we can be reminded of Krishna's 64 qualities in the world. So we're seeing if we can schedule that.
Hare Krishna. So again, let's offer our gratitude to Her Grace Mother Urmila for such a wonderful presentation and so practical. So this entire week we can actually bring Krishna in every aspect of our lives. So let's express our gratitude again. Haribo! Her Grace Mother Urmila ki jai ho. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much. Also we'll like to thank, we have a sponsor, a very nice sevak of Shri Shri Radha Golokananda, but he wants to remain anonymous. So we'd like to thank them for sponsoring the feast. And let's offer chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, praying to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda to shower their blessings on this anonymous wonderful family. So let's chant loudly. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Also, we'd like to thank the devotees who have prepared the Sunday feast offering for the pleasure of their lordships, Giriraj Govardhan, Srila Prabhupada, and all the Vaishnavas. So today's Sunday feast is prepared by the Greensboro Bhakti Vish team. Let's thank them. Haribo! Okay. And also, if anyone is interested to learn Mridanga or Harmonium, we are having classes just before the Sunday feast. And Kishan Prabhu was right here. Oh, he just stepped outside. Okay, you can ask Keshavan Prabhu. So he stepped outside, but you can reach out to him if you want to register for these classes. Yeah, and our next big festival that's coming, Mother Urmila mentioned in the presentation, is Narasimha Chaturdashi. It is on 22nd of May. So this year, is it Tuesday or Wednesday? Wednesday, I think. Yeah, it's May 22nd is the actual date. So please mark your calendars. That's our next big festival here at New Goloka. Right? So thank you all so much for joining us. So our next program is Dinner Prasadam downstairs. So we'll proceed downstairs, and then 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock is the evening Aarti, Sandhya Aarti, and 7:30 Darshan will close. Okay, so please join us downstairs for Bhagavad Mahaprasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki, Bhagavad Mahaprasad ki. You sing Mahaprasad? No? You know?
Mahaprasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Svalpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishvaso Naiva Jayate Sarira Vidyajal Jodendriya Tahekal Jibe Phele Vishaya Sagare